Welcome to Igniting the Spark. I'm your host, Stephanie James, and I am absolutely delighted to have my very special guest, Simran, here with me today. Welcome, Simran.
I'm so delighted to be with you, Stephanie. I know this is going to be a beautiful and intimate and vulnerable conversation that can support many. So thank you for the work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you. I was just telling Simran before we popped on to record that I had listened to and watched her TEDx this morning, which is absolutely, if you have not watched it, oh my gosh. I mean, talk about also being vulnerable and really sharing from your heart. It's one of those TEDx's, unlike some are very, you might just experience it in a way like you're intellectually just going, oh, okay, okay. This was hitting on all cylinders, like intellectually, heart, gut. I would get the chills. Can you talk a little bit about that TEDx?
Yes, thank you for saying that because I feel like my purpose and my mission here on the planet is to support people in that deeper embodiment, in really feeling everything. And the only way that I can do that is if I actually go through experiences fully and completely. And that means not avoiding any level of it. Like if heartbreak's going to come, to really feel the heartbreak and not just think it or try to get myself out of it. And that was a very interesting time in my life. It was a decade ago that I did that TED Talk. And it was a time of radical change where there was a lot of letting go, where there was this juxtaposition of both great heartache and the leaving of a marriage and not knowing who I was going to be from that point on, and feeling a lot of abandonment and betrayal, but realizing that I couldn't sit in that space. So, how do I stay within that to allow it for all the juice it can give me? And yet, how can I rise to a higher perspective to let me move forward and really see why this type of thing happened and where I was being led and what was the bigger conversation that the universe was giving me through that. And so it unfolded in this TED Talk, which somehow came out very organically. I went on stage with one thing planned, which is the way that they organize TED Talks. But when I got on there, something completely different came out of my mouth, and it was what was supposed to come out of my mouth. And I didn't even know what I had said when I got off. A friend was there, and I said, "What did I say? I don't even remember what just happened." And she said, "Oh my goodness, you won't believe what you said." And then I got to see it, about 6 weeks later myself, and it all felt very embodied and integrated and very truthful, and yet it felt like reflection and at the same time prophecy, because I had no idea what was going to come in my life, which was going to be another spiral of these experiences where I was going to actually have to experience all of that again in a deeper way. And I think that that ultimately has been the foundation and the stepping stone for the last decade of many things that I have done, but particularly culminating in this new trilogy that I have released that really goes deeply into it. So the TED Talk is titled Conversations with the Universe, and it's based on my very first book, which is about knowing that the universe speaks to us through signs, symbols, and synchronicities. And what does that mean? Like, what are the actual signs? And can they be the full gamut of what we experience in our lives and not just these once in a while aha moments that make us smile or delight us and then we rush back into our lives? So that's kind of the crux of how that came to be, what it was about, and how important it was as part of my journey along this path.
Thank you for sharing that. There was a point in there where you were talking about that moment where you were just in that dark night of the soul. And the only prayer that you could pray at that moment is just help me, help me, help me. And that just brought me to tears, Simran. I feel that I've been in that place as well, and probably just in the last couple of months. So I really, I think at points in our lives, that's where we're at. And when we're there, and it sounds like in your experience, the universe comes rushing in.
I do believe that's the case, and it's necessary to really reach that place of simplicity where we come like that small child, where we feel totally helpless and we're kind of reaching out to something beyond everything that we know to call in that support. I don't know of anyone that has not experienced a dark night of the soul, or many of them. And they can be sometimes the most heartbreaking, the most paralyzing, the most frustrating, the most angering of experiences. And yet you're in the dark, so you don't know where to go. You don't know which way to turn. You don't know what to feel. You don't know who to speak to. And so to have that void space that, in a way, you don't even know if it's there, because that helped me, for me at least, at that moment was, I need to know that you're here now, because right now I feel like there's nothing I can grab hold of. And that helplessness, that childlike innocence, and even that level of victimhood is a treasure chest. It's kind of the opening of going back into Pandora's box and discovering, how did I get here? And was this on purpose? Was this too on purpose? And if so, show me what I was really meant to see in this box. And that's what has been my life. And I would imagine anyone who has gone through a dark night of the soul, if they really do that soulful work that merges the identity and the soul in this very intimate way, where you notice the subtleties of life, you will discover the gold at the bottom of the chest.
That's so beautiful. It's, this duality that we live in, the duality of life, and that it is that deeper dive into, there is a part of my soul also that created this, or the universe brought this to me, even when it's something unpleasant. And I think that's sometimes where that rub is. And I really loved as well, um, when you were talking about, when we see someone, whether it's the homeless person or an angry person, or someone that we might look at and have a judgment about, that is a part of us as well, because we are all one. And so it's like a mirror to who we are. And so that these difficult times are also the invitation, as you're saying, to do some of that deeper work, to look at, what part am I contributing to this? What part of me is this as well?
We're so outward focused that the universe knows how to get our attention to turn us back inward. And so it uses that outward focus. It uses the people in our lives. It uses the experiences and the things that we encounter to eventually turn us back inward. For a long time, when we're living this persona and this identity, we're rushing through life. We don't realize how distracted we are. We're seeking grace. We're seeking our blessings. We're seeking the miracles and the magical moments. But then along the way, we get these alternative blessings, which is what my first book of the trilogy is about. It's living the 7 blessings of human experience. And these alternative blessings are the things like challenges and obstacles and chaos and darkness, and even those moments of death where we have to die to the identity that we were, or to the life that we had, to be able to rebirth into something else. So it's not just that the blessings are these high-flying things that we have, but they're those things that we call the clouds with the silver linings. And if we really understand that, we can understand how to move into these blessings in the same celebration and embrace that we do the other type of blessings. All of a sudden, we really do open ourselves up to a level of consciousness and an experience with both the divine and ourselves that is an integrative romance. It is the lover and the beloved that is taking place. And those experiences, whether it is a divorce or losing a job or having to, change careers or leave your city or, losing people, whatever's happening for you, that is a moment for you to say, am I finally willing to go inside and choose me and allow life to be the life support that it was intended as? Everything that's happening outside of you, all of these blessings, they are life support, teaching you once again how to breathe, how to become innocent, how to return to beginner's mind, how to open your hands and be able to receive, how to recline so that you realize, how did I actually lose my power? How did I abandon myself, betray myself, and dishonor myself? Because I was so distracted and so unconscious, running after things I thought I wanted, that I placed these obstacles in my way. So can I now unwind the wound and go back to my original innocence? And that is the true work and purpose and mission that we each have on the planet. All of this other stuff that we think we're doing, that's just play. That's just costumes. That's just a character on a stage. But what we're really here to do is to unwind everything and remove every mask and go to the deepest, darkest depths of ourselves to uncover the golden divine essence that we each have within us. And the way to that place is into the darkness. And that is what I discovered, because I have long been someone of the light. And I very quickly discovered you won't find the light in the light. You'll find the light in the dark. And if you're willing to go into your own darkness, you will find the brightest of lights that the world cannot even compare to.
My heart is resonating so much with this, Simran. 10 years ago, I was speaking with a woman who was a quantum field clearer. And what she said to me is exactly what you're saying. She said, Stephanie, on the teeter totter of life, you are way on the far end where you just love the light. And so, so you're just focusing on what's good and all, and I think as light bringers, a lot of times that's what we do. Everything, yes, hard things happen, but I'm just going to keep looking for the good. And she said, unfortunately, you need to move towards the center of the teeter totter because you're out of balance. And you also need to be able to see what's in the dark. And what a huge lesson that was for me, because I think we've been told, we've been brought up to think somehow the dark is bad or there's evil in the dark. And instead, what I'm hearing and from my own experience as well is that actually when you're in the dark, talk about what can set you free when you find the light, as you said, in the dark.
Yes, that's a
That's
beautiful
phenomenal.
example, that teeter-totter that you're talking about. And what most people don't realize is if you are very much over here in the light and you're saying, okay, I need to move to the middle, you can't just move to the middle because that will only take you a quarter of the way. Because
Right.
your middle will be between that light place and that middle that you projected. You actually have to swing to the complete darkness to then come to middle. It's just like those pendulums that you see. It doesn't stop in the middle and then go back. It has to swing and swing and swing and swing, and eventually it hits the center. And that's why the second book of this trilogy centers all around the darkness, the shadow, the part of ourselves that we have to dive into, the places that we have become disillusioned with, and that we have created the illusions around what the light means and what evolution is, and time and money and hierarchy and all these things that the world has taught us that we have to run after. But those have all been facades, and we have to knock down that house of cards and remove all the veils and really embrace that shadow, that animal, that monster, that demon within. And we've all got it. And the reason I know we've all got it is because all you have to do is look at the world. If you noticed shadows, animals, monsters, and demons in the world, then they're within you, because you can only notice what is inside. Everything is a reflection. And so if you can blame or shame or be angry at something that's going on outside of you, that is a strong indicator that it's time to go into being, because being has multidimensional levels. And although we think of being as this very high state, we have to first look at how are we really being? because right now, most of the planet is being the animal, being the shadow, and in many cases, being the monster that they're unconscious of. And so the second book in the trilogy is Being, the Seven Illusions That Derail Personal Power, Purpose, and Peace. And until you know and accept what those are, and you fully embrace them with the entirety of not only self-love, but unconditional love, you can't really rise into true humanity, because that's where we must go to open the doorway to divinity. And so it's this beautiful experience that we have all come to engage. And that's why I constantly, from day one, have said, you are not on a journey, you are the journey. And all of it is that journey.